Library of Heaven's Path. Chapter 20, Wang Ying's Shock. After hearing that the young mistress had acknowledged Zhang Xuan as her master, Yao Han rushed here furiously, oblivious to the fact that Zhang Xuan had already accepted several students. He had just let out word that the other party would be unable to recruit a second student other than the young mistress, but in the next moment, he met Wang Ying and the rest. He felt as though he was slapped in the face in public. His face immediately darkened. Teacher. Zhao Ya also felt a burning sensation on her face and she felt tempted to find a burrow to hide in. You are all right? A short moment later, Yao Han recovered and stared in confusion at Zhang Xuan. That fellow yesterday was so brutal to him, so he thought that even if Zhang Xuan wasn't reduced to a pig head, he would at the very least be crippled. So why did he seem to be fully intact, to the point of being unable to find even a single scratch on his skin? Actually, even though he said that he wanted to assess Zhang Xuan's standards as a teacher, his true purpose was to see his pathetic state after getting thrashed by the mysterious man. Yet, in the end, as a fighter 6 Dan Pixie realm expert, he went to assault him yet ended up getting beaten up while the one who he intended to assault wasn't even wounded in the least. He feels as though he had lost greatly and he found it unacceptable. Why wouldn't I be alright? Zhang Xuan knew what Yao Han is thinking, but he replied with a stoic expression. He looked towards Zhao Ya and asked, this disabled person is? Disabled person? A peculiar expression appeared on Zhao Ya's face. Before she could speak, a voice interrupted her. You are the one who is disabled. Yao Han suppressed the urge to vomit blood. His eyebrows shot upwards and he flung the sleeves of his robe. I am the butler of Bio City Lord Residence, Yao Han. Oh, since you are disabled, you shouldn't be walking around here. Otherwise, if you were to die here, it would be difficult for me to explain. As though not hearing his words, Zhang Xuan gestured to the door, send off our guest and shut the door. You. Yao Han clenched his fist furiously and almost exploded on the spot. Who was he? The butler of Bio City Lord Residence. He possessed great authority. In the Hongtian Academy, even the executive of the Education Bureau would have to give in to him. Yet, a teacher like Zhang Xuan dared to say that he was disabled and even tried to throw him out. How could it be possible for him to not be angry? I want to see how you are going to teach them. Putting his hands behind him, Yao Han stood upright proudly. Oh, since you know that you have to leave, make it fast. We need to maintain a silent atmosphere when teaching the students, so we don't just allow any cats and dogs in our classrooms. Zhang Xuan seemed to be on a different frequency as him. As though hearing nothing at all, he gestured towards the exit yet again. You. Who are you calling cat and dog? The rage burned with him and blood flowed out from his wounds. Yao Han trembled uncontrollably. Do you think that I wouldn't dare to kill you with the palm of mine right now? Zhao Ya, send him out, so that I can solve your problem? Couldn't be bothered to argue with the other party, Zhang Xuan signaled to Zhao Ya. Uncle Yao, please, leave for the moment. I am about to start lessons. Hearing those words, Zhao Ya's eyes lit up. I am not leaving. I want this fellow to clarify who he is talking about. I, Yao Han, a fighter 6 Dan Pixie realm expert, is respected wherever I go. Who dares to say that I am crippled, even trying to drive me out? Peng. Before he could finish his words, Zhao Ya pushed him out. The next moment, the sight before him turned dark as the door closed on him. If he didn't dodge fast enough, he would have been smacked by the door. Young mistress. Standing outside the door, Yao Han frowned and his face twitched. If he was driven out by Zhang Xuan, he would surely retaliate. However, since it was the young mistress who drove him out, he wouldn't dare to lay his hands on her even if he was beaten to death. Even so, he directed all the resentment he had accumulated onto Zhang Xuan. He was unable to understand what capabilities the fellow possessed, to be capable of deluding the young mistress to such an extent. "Uncle Yao, I'm sorry to bother you to wait outside. We are going to start lessons." Zhao Yan knew about her own problem. Her own illness must not be revealed to anyone, especially to Uncle Yao. If her teacher was going to help her solve her problem, she would naturally have to drive him away. "Fine, young mistress. I will be waiting outside. If anything happens, call me and I will rush in immediately." Hearing the words of the young mistress, Yao Han knew that he would be unable to enter. He was on the verge of erupting, but without a choice, he could only grit his teeth and bear with it. After Yao Han left, only Zhang Xuan's 5 newly accepted students and him remained in the room. Zhang Xuan surveyed the surrounding. "Since all of you have acknowledged me as your teacher, you all would be fellow peers. Make sure to take good care of one another so as to not sully my prestige." Prestige. Hearing this word, the 5 students stared at one another. "Teacher, you don't seem to have any prestige." Cough cough, "Even if we wanted to sully it, there is nothing there to sully. My way to teaching is slightly different from the others. I pay particular importance to cater teachings to the student's personal condition. The way to guiding everyone is different. Thus, there is nothing to compare between you all." Zhang Xuan seemed oblivious to the expressions of his students and put on the airs of a teacher. "Right now, I will go to the little room by the side. When I call your name, enter the little room." Zhang Xuan's classroom wasn't big, around 100 square meters. Even so, there was a partition in which the teacher was able to give specific guidance to a student. These 5 students were different from one another. If he were to guide them together as a whole, it would be troublesome and highly ineffective. "Wang Ying, you are my first student. Come in." After which, Zhang Xuan led the way into the small room. "Yes." Given Wang Ying's obedient nature, she didn't dare to retort and walked closely behind him. Wang Ying felt a little regretful. Yesterday, she got lost and came over to ask for directions. Yet, she was scammed into acknowledging this teacher as her mentor. Initially, she didn't know what was going on, but after thinking through it, this teacher didn't seem to be truly capable. Other teachers were able to tell the problem with her leg through her punching routine. However, not only was this fellow unable to tell, he even bragged about being able to cure the injury on her leg. For this injury, her father even found the most famous of physicians, but it was to no avail. Even so, the man before her claimed that he was able to treat her. If this wasn't a scam, what could this be? Furthermore, Lulashi told her many things regarding this teacher. Only then did she realize that this teacher had such a radiant background. The first teacher to score a 0 in the teacher qualification examination and the weakest in terms of strength among the teachers. Why was she so unfortunate to be scammed by him and to believe his words? No wonder Big Brother said that there are many bad guys outside. When her elder brother told her that there were untrustworthy people outside, she didn't believe him. Now, looking at the teacher before her, she felt wronged, that she had been lied to. Just as she was thinking about how she should withdraw from the lessons of this teacher, that at most, it would simply end with a scolding and she could find her elder brother to help her find another teacher, she heard a familiar voice sounding out. "Display your battle technique once more." Zhang Xuan sat at the center of the room and looked over with a calm expression. The previous time, when he tried to coax Wang Ying into joining him, the Library of Heaven's Path wasn't activated yet, so he still had no idea what flaws Wang Ying had. "All right?" Although Wang Ying was tempted to withdraw from the lessons, she nodded her head after hesitating for a moment. Once again, her fists generated gusts of wind and soon, her punching routine came to an end. Zhang Xuan nodded his head. Although Wang Ying's character might be a little dense, her punching routine was quite satisfactory. "Teacher, actually I want to." Wang Ying wavered for a moment, and just when she was about to express her intention to withdraw from Zhang Xuan's lesson, the young man opposite of her spoke. "If I'm not wrong, your leg was probably struck by someone during a duel 2 years ago." Zhang Xuan said. "You? How did you know?" Wang Ying was taken aback. Her words jammed in her mouth as her beautiful eyes widened in circles. She only talked about the injury on her leg yesterday, and not the origin of it. She didn't expect the other party to be capable of telling that it was an injury from someone's blow and even the time of the injury. She couldn't help but be shocked. There are 3 acupoints on a person's leg, and individually, they govern strength, speed, and dexterity. When you battled with someone else, the other party accidentally struck the acupointment which governs strength. When this acupointment is struck, it closes, resulting in your blood to flow in reverse, thus preventing you from exerting strength on it like any other normal person. Zhang Xuan stated calmly. That, Wang Ying's body trembled. Her face flushed completely red. For her leg, Wang Ying's father had invited all of the renowned doctors in the kingdom, including the famous master Yuanyu. He seemed to have spoken similar words, but even he was unable to identify where the acupointment which governs strength is, thus he was unable to treat her. If she wanted to be treated once and for all, she had to invite a fighter 8 Dan Zongshi realm master who possessed superior Genkai to treat her. Otherwise, it was impossible for the treatment to succeed. Initially, she thought that this teacher who claimed that he would be able to treat her leg was just trying to coax her to come under his tutelage. Yet, she didn't expect that he would say the exact same words as what Master Yuanyu said, so how could she not be shocked? "Teacher, are you able to treat me?" Wang Ying couldn't resist asking. "It is just a small matter." Zhang Xuan replied her question blandly. "A small matter?" Wang Ying's eyes narrowed as her breathing quickened.